Om Purnamataha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And this evening, Nandana Devi will begin the program with one of her special songs.
It's time to awaken. The dawn is breaking. You've gotta let your flower bloom. So rise and shine. Everything will be fine if you let your light dispel the gloom. Know that help is always here. I will walk you through the fear. Know your heart is always home. Wherever you may roam, it's time to awaken. The dawn is breaking. You gotta let your flower bloom. Let your flower bloom. You've gotta let your flower bloom.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And she's written many more beautiful songs, and hopefully we'll hear all of them eventually. Today is Sunday, May 27th, 2018. We're recording from the ashram of our revered guru in Miami, Florida. Tonight, Swamiji continues the lecture. This is series 2018, and it's class number 2. Swamiji has begun a new series on the Gita. And now our revered guru.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bandhe Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, chapter is entitled Samkhya Yoga. It's translated as Yoga of Knowledge. Give you a little more insight into the word Samkhya. Sa is it relates to Sat. Sat is pure existence, absolute truth. That movement towards that absolute truth, that's what is indicated by the letter Sa. And it becomes Samkhya, it becomes vibrant. Therefore, the people who are spiritually advanced, they are called Sant. not only in the East, even in the West. Saints. Kya, Sanskrit letter Kha, relates to expansion, called Akasha. Therefore, birds are called Khaga. They fly in the sky. Here you initiate the same movement for your soul. Don't stay in the egg. Fly. Stay selfish, you are confined to an egg. Break the shell. Don't be selfish. Fly. I put in some jokes just to spice it up. So that saintly movement that allows your soul to expand, to go through 3 stages of expansion. Bhutakash is physical expansion. Chittakash, mental expansion. You must realize that when we talk about space for the mind, for your thoughts take a different space, not your tables, chairs, they have physical space. But lots of thoughts in your mind, they also require their space. And sometimes people complain, I'm too crowded, I can't think of it. You may be externally, in the external world, not crowded at all. You can live in a magnificent building with all expansion in view. But in relation to your mental space, you may find yourself cramped. What I'm leading you on to understand, the absolute reality is called Chidakash, space that is pure awareness. So that movement that leads you to realize, I am not confined to body, mind. I am the eternal, immortal self. That's the goal of life. That type of knowledge is called Samkhya. The whole process is called Samkhya Yoga. So in the second chapter, the Gita actually begins at the 11th verse. I'm talking about the Gita teaching. The setting of the Gita, I have already given you some insight, but I have mostly skipped because that stage of the Gita is a big coconut shell. Want to eat coconut? Don't. Stay with the shell. There's a whole historical description that led Arjuna to develop intense distress called Vishaad. Vishaad is translated as depression. Every mind, every human being, deha dhare ka dand hai. You have entered human embodiment, then you are under a law. It is then illegal to stay as a body. So we are punished. sorrowful thoughts enter the mind. The literal meaning of Vishaad, wish poison. Ad, you are eating it. Not only eating it, you are enjoying it. That's from Ad comes Adi. Ginger. You are gingerly enjoying or tasting your depression. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyananvashochaspam Prajnavadanshcha bhashase Gatasuna gatasunshcha Nanushocanti pandita. The Blessed Lord said, you are grieving over those who are not fit to be grieved for. Yet you speak words like a man of great wisdom. The wise grieve neither over the living nor over the dead. The Sanskrit verse is much more profound than the literal meaning. At profounder level, you are grieving for things not worth grieving for. One who is really wise, wise means one who is enlightened. The word, Sanskrit word is pandit. The term panda means intuitive intellect. Whoever possesses intuitive intellect is called pandit. There's profounder meaning. See, every pandit is not like that. But everyone is potential pandit. There is no harm in that. Everyone is potentially God. But that's the meaning of pandits. If you are really pandit, that means if you have attained enlightenment, your mind will not be gripped by sufferings based on things that have passed on. People who have passed on, all near, dear ones, those who have passed on. You will not stay keeping your mind overwhelmed with grief, because that way you are hurting yourself. And you are not helping those souls that have passed on. And again, to understand this, those souls are not in your hands. Even although you live with people, and even with yourself, all this is not in your hands. Because your hands are ego's hands. And ego is a monkey. The whole world is a monkey business. So, simple point, look into your mind. You say, my mind is full of grief. Now give the mantra to your mind. You mind, you are grieving for things not worth grieving for. It puts a balm on your mind. But experience of grief is not so brief. That you can suddenly wipe them away. It has many stages. First stage, your mind has interpreted a situation as a negative situation. That's called state of vritti, thought wave. Now when you repeat the same thing, then a vritti becomes a strong experience. It becomes a deeper thought movement in your mind. As it creates its further maturity, subtle impressions begin to gather in your unconscious. So if you have, say for example, you have received a negative news, in the beginning your mind has just grasped it, you have brought it in your house, placed it on a table. But with the passage of time, when you start looking at it again and again and again, that has gone into deeper level. And if it was already infested with termites, it has gone into to hurt your inner level. In other words, to put it in a very simple way, grief can be easily handled by your reasoning. But you have stayed grieving for a while, it can't be handled by simple reasoning. But then there is no other way. You start first introducing that the grief has no real basis. And then you are introduced to a whole integral yoga movement. And so that's the plan of the Gita. You are grieving over things not worth grieving for. You allow that voice to enter your mind. Why are you losing your mental energy? There was a tree and it broke down. There are many other trees, many things else. I'm just trying to bring you some simple illustration. And also opening your eyes. Be sensitive. We live in a world where profounder aspects of the world are ignored by the mind. And profounder aspect is you live in a world of mortality. When a yaksha, I'm maybe repeating the teaching, and a yaksha asks King Yudhishthira, who is the embodiment of dharma, what's the most surprising thing in this world? And he says, everybody hears the news of somebody's death. News break every day, even in the old times. But it does not settle within your mind that I am also a mortal personality. What should I do to make best of my existence? What is the purpose? What can I face it? Before going further, just to not to keep you in suspense, the dread of Maran is mortality, is removed by Smaran. Smaran means turn your mind to God. Turn your mind to your real, who you are. Real you is like this shining sun. Unreal you is the sun reflecting in a jar of water. You are finding yourself in according to the mental concepts. Your mind is interpreting who you are. And that interpretation is not real you. That's called jiva. Jiva does not stay in the same body. Any embodiment is a subject to mortality. So as long as you are jiva, you are not enlightened to realize I am the sun. You will be constantly haunted by mortality in different ways. All things of this world are transient. That's the idea of mortality. Not only human beings die, your tables, chairs, your houses, and all possessions, they are all subject to. But while things die, destroyed, new things go on coming. The mind is busy with things that have passed on and involved with things that are to come. Gatasuna agatasuna. Gatas, what does that mean? That things that have relatives that have passed on. That's the simple meaning. Profounder, all things that pass on. And your mind goes on grieving about it. And while doing that, mind develops a compensatory movement. Things that you expect to come. The things that you expect to come, they are in the same category. They will also move away. So you are not really going after something substantial. So that predicament of the mind is called maran. Mind is after maran, destruction, death. Cure it, the word is smaran. Smaran means allow your mind to do japa, kirtan, sumiran. Sumiran means you sit down and you meditate upon God. Think of His divine compassion, how His glory has created the whole universe. How even a little flower expresses so much grace, so much intelligence that even the biggest of scientists becomes a little bug compared to that knowledge. I'm not underestimating scientists. But this is one picture of Smaran. And as Gita advances, you will get more and more understanding. Turning the mind to a positive way of looking at the world, looking at yourself, looking at happenings. And if you do that, you are closer to truth. But if you stay negative, you are worshipping untruth. It's like you have two choices: worship daylight or the night. Stay worshipping the night, you become nishachar. It fills your mind with a devilish, terroristic mind. To worship the daylight, you become divine. all the spiritual sadhana, that's the process of Ishvara Smaran, going to satsanga, conducting your life on the path of righteousness, practicing integral yoga, all that is a broad way of Godward movement. Godward movement. If that type of concern, that type of interest enters your mind, then that is the remedy for all the negative movement that mind is subject to. You have no choice. Either you move towards the positive or go on sinking in darkness. And the best news behind it, best insight, that negativity, darkness has no reality. So you are not really going to find the enemy and use your muscles to defeat it. By the time you are able to look at the enemy is not there. Bring a flashlight, child is crying, mother, mother, it's so, I'm frightened. I can't. And the mother brings a flashlight, says, what is frightening you? And the baby becomes surprised. How can I show that to the mother? The darkness was frightening the baby. And with the flashlight, the baby himself doesn't see the darkness. Think of the baby predicament. So that's coming back to the same thing. That's the profound reality. Positive movement is spontaneous. Just like you open a window, light comes in. Breeze begins to come in. That's spontaneous. Keep it closed, then you have to put electrical light, put a fan. You have to work for it. So spontaneity. Nanu shochanti pandita. Shochanti term means grieving about it. Anushochanti, grieving it again and again and again. You become addicted to grieving. Grief addiction. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipa na chaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayamatah param. Never did I not exist. Lord Krishna is representing God, the absolute self. That God is absolute truth. And truth never moves away. Truth is ever the same. So never it was that the world had no truth behind it. Truth sustaining it. Nor you. You referring to every individual. Just like the sun is talking to reflected suns and giving this news. Never was it that I didn't exist. and nor you, because all those reflections are the sun. Nor these things, all objects of the world. They are all Brahman, the absolute self, manifesting as everything. Let me remind you again. Absolute self called Brahman. He has magical power called Prakriti, translated as nature. All that Brahman expresses through Prakriti is Maya, illusion, not reality. All that a magician creates, a magic show, that magic show is reality only for those who are deluded by magic, not for those who are undeluded. In brief, magical power is not separated from the magician. Both are one and the same. So that Prakriti has three stages. Sattva predominating Prakriti is called Maya. Brahman manifesting through Maya expresses in the form of Ishvara, God, creator called Brahma, sustainer Vishnu, destroyer Shiva. Threefold aspects of God begins to play their role through Maya. And through Rajas predominating Prakriti called Avidya, that Brahman expresses in the form of countless souls, just like the sun becomes countless reflected suns. And these reflected souls, they evolve through the world of matter. The third aspect of Prakriti is called Tamasi Prakriti. Brahman through Tamasi Prakriti manifests as the world of matter. All the subtle elements, Vedanta studies matter in a very profound way. All subtle elements, they go to combine, permute and compute. And even your mind, your intellect, your ego come under the result of permutation, combination of those elements. The reality behind all that is Brahman, Brahman alone. So Brahma Satyam, Brahman alone is real. Jagat Mithya, all this world of so many souls, evolving through so many material, so many world systems, all that is Maya, projection. Vedanta gives a simple way also. All this is like a snake superimposed on the rope. Snake on the rope. So, deep within, allow your mind to hold this type of message, a mantra, that, oh mind, you are making me feel horrible, but I will do Hari Bol. I will turn my mind to God who is eternal. Nothing is going to destroy anything. All is a play of shadows of darkness. Eternal, absolute, Purnamada. That type of message has to enter the mind. That has been the highlight of Vedic culture. And this education begins even in the very early stage. The great queen, Sulabha, sang a what do you call when the babies move in the lullaby, cradle song. Shuddhosi buddhosi niranjanosi. Not like me, I sang in a very melodious voice. And behind the Shuddhosi, oh baby, you are not the body, you are pure self. Buddhosi, you are not ignorant, you are enlightened. Niranjanosi, all these limitations of the world can't touch you. All the clouds can't touch the sky. You are that pure. Sansara Maya, this world, you have come into the magic of the world, that magic is not going to affect you. Parivarjitosi. And that cradle song enters the mind. And it carries a special spiritual potency. Because when you grow up with that type of subtle impressions, in times of challenge, you begin to receive support from those impressions. And you are inspired to find right type of association, going to satsanga, right type of books to study, right type of inspiration to unfold. I'm showing you how these samskaras play their great part. The modern society has forgotten it, in the Western world especially, but even in the Eastern world. So you always wait for education, and education is defined only when a child is ready to go to school. Until then, you leave the child to just any abrupt type of association. But Vedic culture is there, that mothers come with their babies in profound lectures of Vedanta that require very advanced mind. And there is no age limit, because that environment that is created in satsanga, that has a special effect. Just like you see the snow bears in chill wearing wonderful fur. Satsanga creates a wonderful fur. And that warmth goes deep into the mind of the babies. And those who are not babies, still they are, from a spiritual point of view, they are all babies. You may say, baby, yeah, baby. I'm joking. In brief, the real you, the real I am, is beyond past, present, and future, unaffected by passage of time. Put it more extensive way, the real self is beyond time, space, causation. And put it more in a simple way, beyond www, beyond the website, where the time, when, where is the space, when, time, why, causation, time, space, causation. 3ww out. No more website. If you stay with website, you are just a spider. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्धीरः तत्र न मुह्यति. Just as an embodied soul attains childhood, youth and old age through the body, so it attains another body after death. Spiritual heroes do not grieve at this. Same point is now being explained, making it easy to understand. Look at yourself. What were you when you were born? First point, very surprising. When you are asked, what is your birthday? And you say, your birth date. Now, are you speaking the truth? Have you witnessed your birthday? Because that, in the worldly terms, things that you have seen is considered fact. You are relating something that you had a personal experience. But birth you have not experienced. You have heard from your mother, your father, your relatives that that's the time you were born. So it's not a witness. You have not been the witness of your own birth. Come to another stage. When you come into a child stage, you are like a pocket edition. You're very cute. Very lovable, very lots of things relate to you in a very joyous way. But there's a but to it. You grow up. You no longer look like that when you were on your on four. You look totally different. Your body is different, your nervous system is different, your brain is different. And there's no need to grieve. If someone were to start grieving, oh baby, what happened? My baby is gone. Now I see 9-year-old kid What happened to my beautiful baby? I've been dreaming of playing with my baby. What happened? I'm dramatizing. Seems ridiculous. Similarly, when you are grieving over past things, sometimes people who have more time in their hand go into looking for their whole heritage, say, father, grandfather, etc. And then come to realize the story of great-great-grandfather, how he died in a very miserable way. Now your mind is gripped by misery. All this being, I'm saying, but central point is that no matter how the practical world may appear to be a source of pain, don't lose yourself. Don't become too desperate. Nil desperandum. Because all this will pass away. Even this will pass away. Nothing stays. And biggest point, God within you is the source of your existence. So how to attune yourself to God, that's where your energy should move. So just as changes occur in your body, and you don't mind, it's normal. Try to make your mind understand that even changing from one body to another through death is a part of divine plan that is good for your soul. If a soul stays with the same body, the idea, if I were to live on to 105, 106, if you are more imaginative, say 125. It may become a kind of a magical, rather, it may go viral, what I am implying. If you get 99 and still you are dancing. No harm in thinking that way, promoting life. But along with your prolonging your life, if you forget the purpose of your life, then all the prolonging of your life has just brought more garbage in your mind. And that's not really desirable. But if purpose of life has been attained, then you are not dependent on the age of your body. But until you attain the purpose of life, it becomes your purushartha, self-effort, to promote bodily health. Dharmartha kama mokshanam arogya moolam uttamam. For accomplishing the four purposes of life, your healthy body is the basis. So that you should not ignore. At the same time, don't get deluded that your purpose is just to live on. Long life is not any guarantee that it is full of joy. You don't believe it, go into people who have lived long, and ask them. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukadukada agama payano nityans tantitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the objects that are perceived by the senses are subject to birth and death. They give rise to pleasure and pain, to heat and cold. They are transient. Therefore, O Arjuna, endure them heroically. The Sanskrit term for it, titiksha. Enduring challenging situations. The Hindi word dat. Stay firm. Don't become shaken. Repeat your mantras. That's called a rat. Stay firm. That's called dat. And as you stay firm, you see your problems moving away. You surviving all the problems. It's called hut. Finally, the veil of ignorance is removed. Fat. Joking which aksharas. Rat, dat, hut, fat. Coming back to simple point, develop endurance. Instead of sinking into gloom, start turning your energy to something that you can do in a positive way. Get into good association, try to see different angles, how to face a situation that is sinking your mind to gloom. And don't let the despair rule over all that. Then you find that if you had stayed that, you have the source, and that secret behind your being is firm, is to allow your mind to surrender to God, to japa, prayer, develop a Godward feeling. Then you go on discovering amazing resource within yourself that not only changes your body, it changes your situations and circumstances. The whole world becomes favorable for your spiritual advancement. I will hold back at this stage. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
disappears in who you are, but who you are is not found in space. Oh, Ramana, oh, Ramana, oh, Ramana, your light still shines. I believe the next phase of human evolution will take place with a revolution, not an outward movement to topple a government, but a turning within to the heart of compassion. Oh, Ramana, oh, Ramana, oh, Ramana, your light still shines.
And we thank Nandana. It was beautiful. While your delicious dinner is coming right to your lap, I'd like to read you a story from the Bible. In our newest book, Mystic Pathways Through the Bible, one of the chapters deals with miracles and understanding the meaning of miracles. And this story from the Bible is included because of the lesson it teaches. It's referred to as the miracle of the cloth. Some of you may know it, but you will after you hear it tonight. One evening, St. Peter entered a village and knocked at the door of a wealthy lady. "Who is there?" asked the lady. St. Peter replied, "I am a stranger. I would like to rest for a while and have a little food and drink. I'm very tired, hungry, and thirsty." The lady shut the door in his face and said, "I do not have the time or the interest in giving you all that. Why should I help those who are lazy and who do not work for themselves? Whatever wealth I have attained, I have worked for. You can't share my wealth just by knocking at my door, so go your own way." Peter went on his way and knocked at the door of a poor lady who spun cloth and sold it at the market. When she opened the door, he again asked for a little food, drink, and a bit of time to rest. She welcomed him in, saying, "I'm very poor. However, whatever I have I will share with you. There is nothing more delightful than sharing what I have with someone." St. Peter was very pleased. He ate the food, rested, and then departed. But before leaving, he blessed the lady, saying, "Tomorrow, the first job that you perform will continue until the end of that day." Although the lady couldn't understand what these words meant, she thanked him graciously. The next day, the lady was planning her projects for the day, and the idea to measure the cloth that she had previously spun came to her mind. She then took a yardstick and started unrolling and measuring her cloth. Lo and behold, because of the boon St. Peter had given her, the cloth went on multiplying from morning till night. To her amazement, it produced cartload after cartload of the most extraordinary fabric with the most unique design. The next day, when the lady took the cartloads of cloth to market, everything was sold. She earned so much money that she never again had to worry about her well-being. During the time that the poor lady was measuring the amazing extensions of cloth, The rich lady who had turned St. Peter away happened to pass by. Awed by the huge quantities of beautiful and costly cloth, she said, "How did you acquire all that?" "Well," replied the poor lady, "I had a guest yesterday who gave me a strange boon before he left." As she described the guest and his visit, the rich lady realized that it was the very same man whom she had turned away from her own door. Cunningly, the rich lady then said, "The next time he comes around, send him to me. You will be doing him a great favor, because I will give him much better food than you could ever have given him." To be sure that she would get the same blessing that the poor lady had received, she placed the most costly fabric possible in her living room, ready to be rolled out and measured. Then day after day she waited for St. Peter to arrive. Finally, one day, St. Peter knocked on her door. With a great hypocritical show of joy, she welcomed him into her home and served him all types of rich food. When he had eaten and was ready to leave, she said, "Please give me the same boon that you gave to the other lady in this village who fed you." St. Peter replied, "I will give you the same boon. Tomorrow, the first work that you do will continue until the end of that day." She said, "Very well, nothing more do I ask." Thus saying, St. Peter went on his way. The next day, when the lady was about to start her project of measuring and thus multiplying the cloth, she suddenly became thirsty. The idea came into her mind that she must have water nearby while she worked. So she went to the well and began drawing water. Since that was her first activity of the day, in accordance with the boon, it continued throughout that day without stopping. So much water cascaded out of the well that by the afternoon it had reached her neck. By evening the water had reached her nose. She shouted for help, but no one came to rescue her. By sundown, her whole body was overwhelmed with the deluge, and she finally drowned. This simple parable conveys a great message. The lady whose heart was filled with generosity and simplicity experienced a miracle of continuous prosperity. Like that lady, you are always spinning a fabric, the fabric of your karma. If you are a devotee of God, if you are generous, simple, and loving, your good karma will go on multiplying day by day. By sundown, by the time you are ready to depart from this earth, your mind will be so filled with divine impressions and backed up by such an abundance of divine grace that you will not return to the world again. You will attain the kingdom of heaven, enlightenment, liberation. On the other hand, if you are hypocritical, greedy, and egocentric, there is another type of miracle waiting for you. You go on creating a flood of karmas that drown your opportunity to reach the kingdom of heaven. These impressions carry you back to earth to be born again until you learn the glory of loving God and being generous towards your fellow man, which then reawakens your opportunity and brings you to the gates of liberation. To be receptive to miracles requires that your mind be charged with devotion to God. If you are living your life well by utilizing your energy for the good of others as well as for yourself, then you will begin to see divine miracles occurring in your life. You will be amazed to discover a world of unique beauty and glory not obvious to ordinary minds, and you will begin to feel the hand of infinite compassion sustaining you in every situation. The culmination of all miraculous experiences is the attainment of God realization. It is not the most amazing miracle that a soul can come in. Is it not the most amazing miracle that a soul can come into the world as a human being, share so many of the characteristics of the animal world, and rise to the level of godhood? To be immersed in the divine self, to become saintly and waft the aroma of eternity, to be forever free of the cycles of birth and death, is indeed the miracle of all miracles. Okay. Let me read you a speck more while Swamiji is taking his dinner. This is also from chapter 18 of the book, An Insight into Miracles. Great miraculous occurrences continue to manifest before you, internally and externally. When you develop a mind that is saturated in divine love, you are aware of the sweetness of the divine presence. You begin to commune with the blessings and miracles of the universe. In other words, you sense the workings of faith. You realize that celestial grace works wonders. You experience the effulgent presence of God within you and in others, like the luminous sun pouring through a window. The human mind has always been fascinated by miracles, and most people experience a miraculous development at some time during their life. There are people who even believe that one can miraculously attain enlightenment. Therefore, it is important to understand what a miracle is and is not. All religious history abounds with miracles. Some of these are vivid and extremely impressive to the mind. Recall how Moses, for example, was leading his people to freedom when the Pharaoh proceeded to march against them. Moses turned to God and a miracle occurred. The Red Sea parted, allowing the people following Moses to escape. By the miracles of Lord Jesus, the blind began to see, the lame began to walk, and a dead man even came to life. To the sensitive eye, every tiny or grand thing in this entire creation is a miraculous expression of the divine self. Wherever you look, there are miracles. See how from a tiny, infinitesimal seed there emerges a tender sprout, and that sprout in the course of time grows into a gigantic and stately tree. How, out of crude earth, does a tree, through the use of a complicated chemical arrangement of molecules, manifest such magnificence? See how a flower unfolds its beauty and fragrance, creating a delicious nectarine fruit to nourish and delight us. See how a human being grows from conception to old age, how the intelligent systems of your own body perform all their complex missions to maintain your life. See how the birds migrate. Think of how they are all united and led in unison back to their original location thousands of miles away, without maps, without a compass, without the study of latitude and longitude. All these are amazing miracles. In addition to the grand miracle of this whole creation, there are exceptional miracles experienced by people who are spiritually sensitive and who are following the path to God realization. These specialized miracles are like the ignition generated by sunlight focused through a magnifying glass. Although sunlight is generally diffused, it creates a spark when the rays have been concentrated by the lens. So too, divine miracles are everywhere, but when one's mind is purified and focused, those miracles become apparent. To understand the role of miracles in one's life, it is important to understand that nothing happens unless it is in accordance with one's karma, the law of cause and effect, the law of action and its reaction. Nothing takes place unless you deserve it by your self-effort, whether it is something miraculous or something perfectly normal. If you have qualified yourself, things may indeed happen to you in a miraculous way in the divine plan. However, if you are not prepared for enlightenment, if you are not deserving of higher knowledge, then it is a great folly to think that one day you will meet a sage who will miraculously place his hand right on your head and cause your inner eye to burst forth, allowing you to soar into enlightenment. So many wonderful things in this book. We're going to open the floor now to questions, and Swamiji will answer them. So while you're waiting, please raise your hand if you have a question that Swamiji can answer. What is her name?
Jessica.
Tat Sat. The stages of grief. I heard 2. Were there more? And is this according to Vedic text?
Tell me again, what is that?
The stages of grief. I heard 2 stages of grief according to Vedic text.
I have no idea what I was saying.
Okay. You were speaking about the mantra for the mind. You're grieving for things not worth grieving for.
Mm-hmm.
And then you shared that there are different stages of grief.
Oh, stages.
Yes, and I was
Stages
wondering.
of grief. I was hearing sages. So that was big difficulty with. One stage of grief is you have just received it in your conscious mind, and it is, you could handle it easily, but due to some negligence it went deeper. It's just like you touched a thorn, you can easily take your hand away, but you went on because you were so fascinated by the flower. I'm joking. So, in other words, same 2 stages. First stage, conscious mind, and then conscious mind gets into your unconscious. Then it's just like thorn has come and gone deeper. If it is only pricked you little on the surface, you can easily cure it. Gone deeper, then you require more patience.
More japa, more practice.
Right.
Thank you.
Hi. You were talking before about purpose and about the purpose of your soul when death arises. It's because it was good for your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go a little bit deeper into purpose and finding one's purpose?
What is it? Are you trying to understand what the goal of the soul? What's your question?
So you were talking about what's good for your soul and why you're not to grieve for certain things that is not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can talk a little bit about like finding people's purpose and what's your purpose, what's the purpose in this life
No,
for the soul?
that requires your whole study. But the simple point is, you are going to a certain destination, and as you go there are different paths. Your mind must be able to differentiate between what is your right path and not go to opposite paths. In other words, mind has that nature to hold on to something and work upon it. You can, instead of grieving over negative, you can start breathing oxygen into your mind through a positive thought. If you do that repeatedly, it goes into your unconscious, just like the negative goes into your unconscious. Positive goes into your unconscious. The same process that degrades you, from that you learn repeated movement in a negative way intensifies it. Move away by repeated movement in a positive way. Both process is the same. From conscious level, you are entering to the unconscious. You can do it negatively or positively. Satsanga movement tells you how to do it positively. Mind is meant to, when for meditation, mind has to go on thinking. You have no other choice. Imagining, thinking, expecting. But behind all that, you put a little mantra of sunshine, positivity. Or put a terrorizing picture of a demon. So all you are thinking is teeth of the Dracula. Yeah. I'm joking, but try to understand that. Two pictures are there, two possibilities. And that switching from negative to positive, that art comes by satsanga, good association, japa, your spiritual sadhana. But when you don't have that sustained practice of what we call yoga, integral yoga, then your mind just gravitates in a negative way. And no matter how much intelligence you may have, it doesn't really work.
Om Tat Sat, Swamiji. I have been grieving a lot over the last 2.5 months, and I think a part of it is this desire to keep an awareness of my loved one. I feel him here, right here. And so I was wondering, what are practices, like I was referred to the Tibetan book of the living and the dying, or of the dead. But I'm curious about, from the Vedantic perspective, what would be practices that one could perform in honor of the soul that has passed? Sort of like the surrendering and letting go, and also the honoring, like, I know you're here and I love you. And
all that is perfectly in order. And be led by your own inner, but the deeper, the higher point has to be understood. Higher point is that if you bring God within that process, see the departed one in the arms of God. So each time the departed one's image comes, instead of bringing to your mind, how are you doing without me? You are in the arms of God, all loving. One day I am coming to you. By God realization. That has a deeper effect, a profounder reality. Otherwise, your sentiments are keeping you away from the profounder movement.
I'd like to give some words of thanks to those who provided your feast. One dish came from Ashoka Restaurant, and we thank that restaurant for the loving care for which they cook for us. And the rest of the meal came from Swamiji's kitchen, and we thank the loving hands of the disciples who helped make that feast for you. And the dessert came from Vasudeva. The salad was made by Padma Devi. And we thank all of them. Just a quick quick note for those who are new tonight. Swamiji's here all the time. That's a miracle. That's a big miracle for an ashram to have your guru with you all the time, not traveling all around the universe, but right here. So today is Sunday. On Monday, Swamiji is not with us. He's not lecturing here, but he's with us. On Tuesday and Wednesday at 7:30, Swamiji lectures on Yoga Vashishta, a wonderful Vedantic scripture, from 7:30 to about 8:30. On Thursday, Swamiji is not lecturing, but there is a discussion group that meets here, anyone that wishes to join, at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. And at that time, you can share your ideas. The topic that's being discussed right now is the art of positive thinking. That's for about an hour, beginning at 6. On Friday, Swamiji lectures on the Ramayana by St. Tulsidas Ji. That's again 7:30 to 8:30. Saturday, we have pranayam class at 7, and then Swamiji joins us at 7:30 for guided meditation. One major festivity coming up to bear in mind and set as a goal is Sunday, July 22nd, we'll be celebrating Guru Purnima. Guru Purnima is a very important festivity in this tradition, a chance to rejoice in the presence of Guru and all the Gurus who guide us in the past and will continue to guide us, and mostly to just love the presence of Swamiji and show our gratitude for his presence in our life. Those who are new, I was going to tell you that you could get a wonderful message from Swamiji every morning at 6 a.m., but just this week, the universe has been playing tricks. Maya is on the loose, and it hasn't been coming through, but maybe by the next time you come, we'll set your phone and everything will be normal again, and you'll be able to enjoy that wonderful tweet in the morning from Swamiji. Swamiji will conclude now with prayer.
Prayer for health, long life, peace, prosperity, enlightenment for all of you. Peace, harmony, and enlightenment for all. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmula Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Hari Om.